Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Climbing Sycamores podcast, where we look at today's topics to get a better view of Christianity. I'm Annie Beege, and I'm joined by my friends Ben Sadler and Matt Harbach.
We made it through the Christmas season, basically.
Yes, right. We're over. Christmas is done. We've got New Year's, but that doesn't really impact.
Yay.
Emily woke up this morning. She's like, my head feels clear. Because we have, yesterday was Annie's, our daughter's birthday. She turned 12 yesterday. And all these birthdays stack up. And so it's like birthday, Christmas, birthday, all this stuff. And our wedding anniversary and both our birthdays. And so these last 2 months, her brain is so filled. I can put in a compartment. I'm exhausted. I don't know exactly why. But then, I think she just takes it all on. So she's finally...
Plus teaching and the Christmas program and all all the stuff, extra work that goes into that.
So I'm actually, that's part of my sermon coming up this week is like the Christmas crash. Like, all right, you are working so hard to get all this stuff done. Now, how do you rebound after maybe kind of a crash? Matt's sick, and that kind of happens, right? Where your body is on such high alert. You work so hard. And this year, all the work you put into the set design, so many people complimented. So that was hard work worth it.
I think Matt had the most work on his plate this year. So kudos.
I don't know why they paid me. I didn't even do anything. I barely, during the Christmas service, I got up and said, Merry Christmas, and sat down. And this year was also kind of neat. We broke records for Victory. We've never had so many people at a Victory service, in a single service. In the last service at 4:00, we had 420 some.
Nice.
And overall, I think last year we had like maybe 900 total. This year was almost 1,300 people.
Yeah, cool.
So 400 people more. So that was really neat to see visitors and see people. And it's probably all podcast listeners.
Yeah.
That
Thanks,
was
guys.
all because of
Thanks
this podcast. Speaking of this podcast, by the way, this is our 100th episode.
Wow.
Really?
Time flies
Yes.
when you're having fun.
Wow. That's
So
a big...
For you, viewer, those of you listening, for the next 100 days, you can subscribe to our podcast absolutely free. So tell your friends. All of this content we are giving away a limitless, a near limitless value, I think, for no money whatsoever.
That's great.
Look at
Very
that.
good. Well, Annie, you had a topic that you wanted to talk about. You want to kind of introduce some of the things that are on your mind?
Yeah. So with this time of year, so a couple of friends in the music community here in Milwaukee, they hold an open house on Christmas for people to basically show up. Like they come and go, like whatever. Basically, they announce it on Facebook and they say, hey, we're having an open house. Come on by between these hours, whatever.
On Christmas?
On Christmas, yep. So on the 25th. And I went, and we were, there was probably at the time like 6 or 7 of us there. So we kind of got to talking. And it's people that I kind of see periodically here and there, but like nobody I've ever really like actually talked to with any, substantial, conversation. And it struck me this year in talking with some of the people that were at the open house, how lonely people are on, during the holidays and during Christmas. And one of the girls that was there, she said, I spent half the day yesterday, which would have been the 24th, crying, just crying because she's got strained family relationships. And then another gal that was there, like her kids are older and, nobody's around. And so she's just, these people, they just don't have family or community. And so while sometimes, some people kind of squawk about being with their families, during the holidays. Well, at least you have a family, you've got people to be with instead of being alone. And so I guess, it just really hit me this year in talking with these people, like what can we do either individually, as a community, as a church, to like help people through this time of year, because it really is not joyful for a lot of people.
And I think it sets up kind of, there's an expectation of joy, right? We sing joy to the world. Right. And so that makes it even worse sometimes, is that that idea of being blue and being, I preached on that a while back. We started the Christmas season, that idea of a blue Christmas, that some churches actually have gatherings. I think it's on December 21st, where they during the winter solstice, that they kind of remember that either you've lost a loved one. I think about people, it could be estranged for lots of reasons. It's strains in the family life. Maybe your spouse died. Maybe a child has died. Maybe there's other reasons why you're alone. Maybe we live in such a mobile society that people sometimes move for jobs, and so now you find yourself on the other side of the country, away from family. So there's all sorts of reasons why this could happen. I think before we get into like practical ways to deal with this, why would we do this? Why would we care about somebody else who feels lonely and to go after them or find ways to encourage them? And it comes out of a value we read in the Psalms, a value that God himself has, and we're supposed to be his image bearers. In Psalm 34, verse 18, it says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He saves those who are crushed in spirit." So if somebody's brokenhearted because they're alone, it says he's close to the brokenhearted. He's not close to maybe people who, maybe feel powerful or are great in the eyes of the world, but those people who are crushed in spirit, he's close to them. So I think that gives us a reason to imitate our Lord God and seeking and saving or seeking out those people who are feeling isolated. So first of all, that sounds like a great idea. If you have the room to be able to do that, where you don't have maybe family obligations to be able to open up your house, like I think that's a great example.
Mm-hmm. Maybe to your coworkers, or like, for us, like in the Milwaukee music scene, we're like a giant family also, so whether you're a live music supporter or, a venue owner or a musician or whatever, like there's just a really tight knit community of people that, to be able to open your house to a community like that and just have people come if they want.
Do you think that, how well did that meet the need for some of these people? Did that fill a spot for them?
I think absolutely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when I was there was about 6 to 7 people, and we really we got to talk about like it all came out, like, why are you, basically right. Why are you here? Like, or like, so we really got to get in depth about a lot of things. And it was nice because again, we, often I see these people out and about, but you're never really in a position to like talk at that level with them.
Right.
It's always at a bar or a show or something where you're, so it was nice to be able to just kind of get to know them better.
Yeah.
And help maybe ease some of their loneliness.
And that takes sacrifice because you're opening your home, you're setting aside the time, you're, planning for that. So it's not easy, but that's a value for that person to say, I'm going to open up my home. I'm going to plan this out. I'm going to welcome people who don't have family or places to be. So I think that's the first thing, is to acknowledge that this would take work if you're going to do it. It's not necessarily going to be easy, and probably not always understood by people or appreciated how much effort that would actually take.
Well, I thought it was brave too to just go on Facebook and
right.
basically be like,
could be anybody.
Well, correct. And because both of these people are musicians, they are successful and popular musicians.
Yeah.
They know a lot of people. They're connected with a lot of people. I would be I don't think I would do it. I don't think I not that I wouldn't have an open house or something like that, but I don't think I would put it out on Facebook because I don't know who would show up, and that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Did they tell you how many total people were there?
No, I didn't ask.
So the way that I try to do this, and I don't do a very good job, is to think about the people. I think Bill does a better job than I do on this. Like, think about the people who have lost loved ones this last year. We have quite a few in our congregation, and just assume that they're hurting. And so a phone call, a card, Cindy does a really good job with this. There were some people I know who lost mother figures or mothers or grandmothers, and so kind of stepped into that role, giving gifts and thinking about them. So I think that is really important. Just to realize you might not be hurting, you might have all your bases covered. And I think that is a challenge, especially for me, what I've noticed living in the Milwaukee area. When I lived in Orlando, we gathered with all sorts of people during the holidays because they were all transplants. Nobody was born in Orlando. There were people from Puerto Rico and Venezuela and and the Dominican and Colombia and Venezuela, and so they were all looking hungry for family. So we had so many gatherings to go to, and they all invited us over. Here, it seems like for the most part, you have generations of people who've lived in the Milwaukee area, and so for the most part, many people have somewhere to go, which just makes it even harder for those who don't. And it takes more intentionality to acknowledge them or reach out to them and see how they're doing, and invite them over, maybe and especially not just now, but now into the new year too. I mean, that kind of continues that loneliness. So it's hard. I think it's harder here. At least that's what I've experienced in my own life. Harder here to make time for that because you don't see people as much thinking that they're lonely, because it seems like they have family. It seems like they have connections. It's not as obvious as other parts of the world, I think. But that makes the pain even worse. Yeah. It also acknowledges something that the Christian church was known for in the beginning. Was in the first century, it was the only place in the world that had ever existed where a slave, a woman, a barbarian, a Greek, and a Jew would sit down at the same table and eat a meal together and have communion together. And that was such a radical idea. And so Paul talks about that in all of his letters. And that's kind of a value now. Like, we really value multiculturalism. We value that in our culture today, but that comes out of Christianity. And so I think maybe rediscovering that thing that we can unify around Jesus as a family of believers, even if we have nothing else in common. Now, you guys have music in common in that group, so that unites you. But to remember that Jesus can unite us and bring us kind of a feeling of family. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
The contrast too is just like, I have some other friends who are like squawking about how they have to be with their family, and it's just, it's like, well, what would you prefer?
Right.
Would you literally prefer to be alone?
Alone, yeah.
Don't squawk about that. Like, I don't know.
And yeah, that's the reality, that if you're going to have any relationship with anybody, family or whatever, you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have misunderstandings. So how do you learn to get along with each other? And first of all, just don't bring up politics. Probably that's number one.
Good rule.
We were on the line of that at the family gatherings I gave to. So all of a sudden it got political. I was like, started like banging pots and pans. Like, all right, let's talk about
create a diversion.
Rodeo clown.
Yeah.
Look, squirrel, something else. Yeah. I started singing. Yeah.
It's interesting the point you brought up, because when I was driving to visit our family was getting together in La Crosse on Christmas, and I was driving there, and a song came on the radio. Some Blink-182 song. I don't remember how it goes.
Oh, that new one?
No, not the new one.
Good,
it was something about, like, I'm so sick of the holidays and Christmas cheer and like pretending that I like these people and make it all go away. It was kind of like the gist of the song. And it reminded me of our talk about Valentine's Day. And to me, first of all, I hate that stuff because it just reminds me of like when I get cranky, I just like shoot down everything and make everybody have a bad time. But it's like, shut up. Like, if you don't want to celebrate, go away. But people want something to look forward to, and people really want to have a gathering and make memories or whatever. And you're just like, well, it's not merry for all of us. It's like, then go away. Then don't celebrate, but shut up.
Yeah.
And so
the compassionate one.
Yeah, clothe yourself with compassion. That's good.
I'm double layered up with compassion. No, I didn't think about it from a loneliness aspect. But I think, I guess I don't, My gut reaction when people, and it's like the Valentine's Day thing where they're just like, oh, Valentine's Day is such a cheap holiday. It's like, I don't know. I think you're just kind of sad.
Despising what we can't possess.
Yeah, right. The grapes are sour.
Yep.
So I don't know. I guess the loneliness thing, I think that's a good angle, and I think the compassion and to invite people and to try to make family togetherness even with people who aren't your family. But I don't know. I guess what do you guys think about when it comes, like, is that a level of realism that we're getting? Like, all right, let's be real, Christmas isn't all that and family can be a real pain in the butt? Or is it a time where you just say, just shut up and have fun, like, and just stop worrying about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a trade-off. Like, yeah, you're gonna, if you want to have family, you're gonna have the trade-off of there's going to be, the classic uncle who drinks too much, maybe, or some of the political person, and some of these things, and you have to learn to bear with one of those. That's the trade-off. So I think acknowledge that, be okay with that, forgive that, and realize that's the price you have to pay for relationships. And I think that's the other thing, is that maybe just sometimes we're just not willing to pay the price for relationships. That if their highest value is personal happiness, and so anybody that I disagree with or gives me some problems or challenges me a little bit, or I'm cutting them all off. Well, you keep cutting off everybody in your life, and then all of a sudden you wind up in a place where you're alone. A verse that came to mind that I was thinking of maybe somebody who's lonely and lost a loved one or can't get together with family anymore because for whatever reason. I think about some promises that come from the Psalms. It says, this is Psalm 68, verses 4-6. Sing to God, sing praise in his name, extol him who rides in the clouds. Rejoice before him, his name is the Lord. A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling. God sets the lonely in families. He leads out the prisoners with singing, but the rebellious live in a sun-scorched land. So he promises to set the lonely in families. And so I just wonder if maybe if you do find yourself in a situation where you do feel alone, that maybe in 2024 to intentionally look and pray that God would open up doors that you could find close relationships, that you could foster these relationships so that when these holidays come around or things come around, that you do have these connections and that trust that God will open up those doors. I think that could give some hope that it doesn't have to always be this way. And I was thinking about, some people in our congregation, again, who one lost a mother, and to see the family of believers come around her, and it's never going to completely replace. It's never going to be exactly the same, but it takes the edge off, and it helps out. Just like this gathering helped out some of those people who had that gap. I think the Christian church needs to intentionally do that, and I've try to do that, like even at family gatherings. Even when you're at a family gathering, there is still people who don't feel like they belong, and just acknowledging them, asking them questions, seeing where they're at, letting them talk about what's really going on allows them to feel included. So there is hope. It doesn't have to always be this way. And
I think it's tricky too because everything is closed on Christmas Day, right? And Christmas Eve. Or I shouldn't say everything, but nearly everything. So even if you wanted to go escape your situation of loneliness by going shopping or whatever, you just can't. I think the movie theaters have historically been open. Yeah. And they do well.
How long has that been going on?
Probably forever. I mean, it's profitable, right? Because people are lonely and they need something to do, so they go to the movie.
I thought that was more of a newer trend, but I know that's a big deal. Like Christmas Day, a lot of movies are booming. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I guess what could the church, what could we at Victory of the Lamb, not because listen, we all have a lot going on around Christmas time here at Victory, but what would it look like for a church to have an open house type situation for the community? I'm not saying that we do that. I'm just How does a church do that? How
Right.
could a church be basically putting out an ad on Facebook and saying like, "Hey, are you
Right.
alone? Come have a meal here."
I don't know how to do that in a systematic way, but I think continuing to push that as a value, the welcoming value, and I've seen our life groups do that pretty well, where like they have somebody in their life group who one has a husband who's really on hospice right now, and making sure that this person is getting cared for. Another couple is has a spouse that's stage 4 cancer, and we don't know how long this person is going to be around, and the life group has been sending them meals and taking care of them. And so I think that's how we can do that in an individual basis, is through the life groups. It's got to be a smaller group of people, and it has to be somebody who is willing to make some sacrifices and go and visit or go welcome them in. I saw that in some of our mentoring groups. There's one that kind of invited another guy who's kind of, doesn't have any family, doesn't have any connections, and that has become a family to them. So I think that's one way to do, is keep pushing the life groups, keep being willing to make sacrifices individually. And then I think when we have our Victory Cafe, when we see somebody who's by themselves, I know that's been kind of hotly debated. Do you want to be by yourself, or do you want do you want someone to approach you? And if they don't, they'll let you know pretty quickly. But they'll give you the mat look, or say, I can't hear, my headphones are on, or something. I don't know, but
Less eye contact.
But if we believe that people are hungry for it, to follow up and see where they're at.
It seems like that's almost a year-round thing, where the cure for that, I don't think, is to just host something every Christmas, but to try to find ways to get people to make friends with each other, build relationships here at church. Because people don't have any friends. It's sad.
Yeah, and I think, as much as I appreciate our digital, online service, it seems like people will watch for sometimes a year before they come in. But once they come in, they talk about the difference of actually, being around people and being seen and seeing others and participating in the music in the same room. There is something different about that. So I just would encourage. And all this, there was a study done by Harvard. There's been studies done, and they don't always get well publicized, but that being a part of a congregation is an incredible antidote for depression, mental health struggles, loneliness, all those kinds of things. It is a family of believers, and we can continue to improve on that, but it is a huge blessing to those who make that commitment and are willing to say, this is my church, and these are my people, and when I'm in need, they're going to help me, and when they're in need, I'm going to help them. So I've really tried to intentionalize that last few weeks more too, is just learning people's names, learning their backgrounds, and doing that. It takes work, and I'm not always good at it, but I'm trying more and more because of some of these things that you guys are bringing up, how lonely people are.
Yeah, and church definitely benefits that. I mean, I've been trying to coax, a handful of people to come, and I'm like, I don't know if people think, I have to say, I'm not getting brownie points with the Lord for bringing you to church. This doesn't have anything to do with me.
Right.
This is what
commission.
Yeah, I'm right. Right. I'm moving on up the heavenly ladder. But it's more about what can church offer you? I see that you have a need for something, whatever it is, whether it's a need to be around people, or you need healing, or you need peace, or whatever. And I'm like, you need to come here. You need to be at church. And again, it's not. I'm, don't look at me I'm getting brownie points. You have a need, and we can meet your need.
That's great.
And so I think, sometimes I think people think that it's a moral high ground to be like, well, you should come to church.
Right.
You should come to church because it will help you.
Right.
It's not because
right.
I'm making a judgment or assessment on you for not coming to church. It's kind of got off topic, but I think that's, churches meet a need for people with regard to loneliness.
And I think it's okay also maybe tell these people, and I sometimes tell people, is that like, and we're a family like every other family. So we got a crazy uncle here too. And, you know, we got some people who are going to say some weird, stupid stuff sometimes. And so don't cut everybody off just when that happens. Realize that in general, the family believer cares about you and they want the best for you. And if somebody says something stupid, don't, just take that with a grain of salt. And then keep coming and work through that, because that's the trade-off. I remember 2 congregations ago, my first congregation, there was somebody who was really active, and then somebody upset them about something, and they were gone for a year or so. And then they tried again, and then somebody else upset them, and then they stopped coming again. And I just was like broken hearted, like, okay, this is one stupid person. But when you're here, you're so involved and you seem to flourish. Just realize that, yes, there are going to be some things that don't go perfectly. It is a sinful world, but it's worth the trade-off. Yeah. Very good. Closing remarks, Matt?
Because when you're here, you're family.
Very good.
If you'd like to get a hold of us here at the Climbing Sycamores podcast, feel free to email bsadler@victoryofthelamb.com. bsadler@victoryofthelamb.com. If you like today's intro music, it's been brought to you by Andrew Lynch's song, My Name, Hello.